What's going on, guys? It's me, Brian James Cordova, here with another review. This review is not going to be very long. It's going to be like a few under, at least under 14 minutes. Today's review is the movie See No Evil 2. Um, I have seen the first one, and I thought it was completely abysmal, in my opinion. It's just a cheap, straight to DVD type, you know, slasher that was kind of forgettable. But this one is no different. See No Evil 2, right? The sequel is just basically almost the same perspective as the first one from 2006. What do I do? Right. It's about a hulking madman, right? Like, Jacob Goodnight is played by the wrestler Kane, rises from the dead to terrorize a group of medical students at a city morgue. That's basically the plus. Nothing much to say about it. Um, yeah, what else can I say about it? I think the slash era was kind of dying at this point. It was just basically forgettable, cheesy, straight to DVD film, straight to Blu-ray, straight to whatever. I mean, despite being clearly the superior in terms of actual characters and acting, the prevalent issue is that everything else is just uninspired. The hotel in the first movie, yeah, the hotel in the first movie was just comically a rundown, but at least it had some character. But that's not much saying. It's like a great cast star given little character and it can't make it work. It's probably even more interesting than the first movie, and still supernaturally unexplained. It was very predictable, definite overreacting, cheesy lines. While the beginning was okay, it got boring and annoying rather quickly. The end was a surprise, but not a good one. It would have happened far earlier in the movie if the killer had like ran instead of walked. Yeah, it's far from perfect. It's very cliche, and the premise reminds me of the Halloween 2 and the most likely the remake, and Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Directing, although is somewhat tense, but you can tell that the film is not too well constructed. The acting is very awful, save for two characters who do decent jobs. The guy who played Seth did a competent job. Kane did a great job of being intimidating and displaying emotions, but his line delivery is so hammy and over the top. Kane is the legendary wrestler of all time, most notably his run in the 1990s as an enigmatic Burt man with a mask who didn't need to say one word. If WWE Studios actually took their time making a Kane movie based off his 1997 sub, it could be more successful. Anyway, the kills are mostly just strangulations and quickly stabs. Nothing innovative here. The music is all over the place except for one part towards the end, though it does have its moments of legitimate tension and suspense to make this film worthwhile. Not really. It's just really crappy, bland slice and dice slasher flick. Yeah, I don't think there was a need of a sequel for this for the first one. The first one was so god awful. It's amazing it got a second entry. I mean, it had potential, but the women and men morticians. Morticians were like decent actors. Even the rest of them weren't bad. However, the writing was horrendous, and they made Jacob so cliche and corny and stuff. Um, While this movie certainly wouldn't win over any new fans to the horror genre, it's slightly. Actually, no, it's. Well, actually, I do make my point. I mean, this movie kind of is a little bit better than the original because at least there was no survivors left. Unlike the first one, where there was like three survivors that killed the the antagonist, which is Jacob Goodnight. That film came out over 9 years ago. Well, technically, it came out 20 years ago. Actually, I had to go back and revisit to see if it improves upon second viewing, though I really doubt it. I think the film's benefits from the Soska sisters directing the film. These women know their horror. They definitely bring a lot of life to what is a really tired and cliche genre. Though the problem with the film is that the Soskas are working with a script that wasn't written by them, while I'm sure they had some input into certain script modifications. I think the film would have been better if they had a major creative involvement. The casting of Catherine Isabel was clearly their move, and it pays off because Catherine is great and could be great in this film and easily the most memorable character in the entire film. Again, it's not like the film reinvents the slasher wheel in any way. It's actually fairly content to playing into those cliches, but it's surprisingly better film than one would imagine. Glenn Jacobs, as I mentioned in the review of the first film, does have a presence about him since he is at or near 7 feet tall, so he plays the part really well, at least from a physical standpoint. He's obviously not a great actor since I think this would only be his second major role in the film, but he looks menacing and that's it. That's really what's most important in a film like this. I think this is also benefits from more of a dialed back approach. It's simply not just a slasher, but it does have moments where um, it builds tension and does it effectively at that. It's not great or anything, but at least it's something more than the usual stuff. The characters aren't great; they're fairly one-dimensional at the end. At Yeah, outside of Catherine Isabel, no one really stands out. They do try to give the characters something more to do, but it doesn't really add that much. The acting is fine, nothing special. And as mentioned, the only really memorable performance ends up being Catherine Isabel's. But that said, I still think this is better than half of the whatever expected to be, and a considerable better film than the first one. So if you're interested, recommend it if you have Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever the hell. Even if it's barely slightly above average. Yeah, don't take my word for it though. It's generic, but by the numbers of slasher flick that does nothing to add the genre. A few good splattered kills, but nothing really stood out to me very much. It's just a decent slasher film that's unfortunately too riddled down with cliches, poor acting, and bad writing to really say anything about it. I mean, with all the films made by WWE Studios, you would think they could have find people who knew how to act by now. This movie's even worse than the first. No, as a matter of fact, it's the same shit as the first, except that the only bad thing that's better is that no survivor. There's no survivor that still lives after at the end. You know, I mean, the first movie's ending was terrible. It's just a complete mess from start to finish. I am amazed that it made it all the way to the end, and completely bored myself. I actually was expecting for it to be at least passable, but Unfortunately, it was meh, just bland. Extremely bland and generic. Kane deserves better. Glenn J. Because he deserves better. You know, I don't know. Maybe I'm only interested because I used to be a wrestling fan a long time ago. I think that was like a seventh, I was seventh, eighth grade. I think I was a wrestling fan at one point because of my stepbrother back in the day. You know, this Cena Evil I saw like in 2009 or something like that. That's the first one I seen. That's the first time I saw it. I never saw this. I never saw this second entry until like just recently now. And to be honest, I didn't really miss out. It was just bland and generic and completely forgettable to me. Yeah, I don't know. Definitely bland. Anyway, this is my review for Cena Evil 2. Stay tuned for more videos. Oh, and one more thing. Um, I'm gonna be thinking about changing up my videos by basically editing and stuff like that by using some kind of intro and outro and stuff like that. I'm working on that right now. I just don't know how to. I just need some time to basically install a good movie maker that I'm trying to find that's completely cheap and really useful to use. But the problem is I have to like buy one month subscription just to use it nowadays. I try to use the old Windows Movie Maker. It seems to no longer be. It's completely obsolete now, and I don't know what to do at this point. But I'm trying. So yeah, more videos to come. Subscribe, like my video. You know, thank you. Peace out.